Hey everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the Hilltop Sports Report. My name is Jumpin' Jack Carlson, your host, and this is episode 17 of the podcast, and we are previewing the NCAA Division III Volleyball Tournament, regional hosted here in Mount Vernon, Iowa, by the Cornell College Rams. It's been a special season for the Rams, so without further ado, let's dive right in. Let's hit the music and start the show.
Let's go Rams! Let's go Rams!
So here inside the Academic Technology Studio on the campus of Cornell College, the campus is alive as the Rams are hosting the NCAA Division III Regional. The Rams are one of 8 teams that will be competing inside the Small Athletic and Wellness Center gym this weekend. Starting on Thursday, we'll have 4 quarterfinal matches. Very exciting in Mount Vernon. Very special guests on this episode. 5th year Grace Marti from Wilmer, Minnesota. Got Wilmer right this time. And Ilah Perez-Johnson, the senior from Bettendorf, Iowa. The two have been on the podcast before, though in separate episodes. Grace was a day 1. Episode 1, Ilah was on earlier this year for episode 11 to preview the season. So, to start us off, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so this past weekend, the Rams once again hosted the postseason tournament, Midwest Conference. The semifinal was Friday, a sweep of Grinnell, and then on Saturday, the championship match taking on Illinois College for the 3rd time this season. The Rams were able to get the sweep in that match as well. So take us inside what was going on this past weekend. Midwest Conference champs once again.
We just had a really, really good crowd. We were really promoting the game a lot, and I think that the Ramley really showed up and helped us with this win and with being tournament champions and everything. And I think we just went into the game just knowing, like, we got each other's backs, you know. This whole season we've been feeding off of each other's love, and I think that's helped our successes. And, yeah, we had just a really good weekend overall.
Yeah, Friday night was really fun. I think it's always fun to play Grinnell, and then obviously at home. So we were pretty pumped up about that game. And then Saturday, it's really tough playing a team more than once in one season, but let alone 3 times. So we were definitely prepared to play IC, but also just really pumped up again. And then, yeah, the fans are really a big help this weekend too.
Certainly. And so the Rams got it done this weekend. Then Monday, wasn't quite sure what was going to happen. The Rams were awaiting the postseason fate, thinking, okay, we're going to go on the road, see what's going to happen. Then the selection show on Monday at noon happens. We had the watch party inside the SAW. The region comes up. Northwestern is the number 1 seed. They're not hosting. Murmurs start to happen around with the watch party. What's going on? And then you get down to the 3rd team in that region listed, Cornell Rams as the host. What was that moment like inside the SAW?
As soon as we saw Northwestern wasn't hosting, like, I kind of grabbed Grace's arm and we were all like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
wait, what? And then we heard our names and then saw the little asterisk mark next to it, and you just, like the video on Instagram, we all just blew up with excitement, you know, instant tears. So that was just really, really exciting.
Definitely a lot of instant tears that came from a lot of us, but also I think just, seeing that Northwestern wasn't hosting definitely gave us all a little, I don't know, my palms were like immediately sweaty. Yeah. So I was like, this is not real. And then, I don't know, I think just everything that's happened so far this season, like this is just a really special group of girls, and it was just made it all that much special.
Yeah, I think I've watched that video about 500 times, maybe 600 times at this point.
Same.
I'm not quite sure. Just an electric moment. And I will say, there were a lot of good poker faces going on. I'll shout out Kerry Call. He knew.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Meeker knew. Coach Sidney knew.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Lamb knew. He was the guy behind us. Let's give a shout out to Coach Lamb for what he's done to make sure that the Rams could host this one. Shout out to you, Kurt Lamb.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so let's go back now throughout the season. Ilah Perez-Johnson, Player of the Year in the Midwest Conference. What exactly happened this year? You just hit another level and were Player of the Year in the conference.
I mean, I've said this before, but I can just only give all the love to my team. You know, I wouldn't be able to be this good without their support and them just having my back. And I think going off of last year, we all kind of had an edge to our game, especially in conference play. Just with how things turned out last year, we wanted to really put our foot down and, like, why we've worked so hard. So this is, like, why we not deserve it, but deserved all of, like, the awards and everything we've gotten. We've just all worked so hard. So I think this was just a really special year for the whole team.
And so for you, Grace, you decided to come back for a 5th year. It's been pretty fun so far. So you earned second team all-conference honors. Put this year into perspective for you, your 3rd year with the Rams.
I mean, it's been remarkable. I mean, it was definitely a little bit of a change with not having the same team as last year and just having a really good connection with everybody last year. But, I mean, I think that the connections have only been getting stronger this year. I mean, half of us are returners. We had a bunch of freshmen come in. And I don't know. It's just really fun to be with everybody. And I think that it's amazing to see how many of us, like, actually really care and, like, genuinely want to be there. And I think that that just grows everything from play to connections on and off the court.
Absolutely. It's been a fun season for the Rams. And let's give a shout out to Rory Light, too, because I was listening back through episode 1 just a little bit ago, and she mentioned hopefully this team can go farther than we did this year, speaking of the 2022 season. Well, Rory, this season hosting, let's see what the Rams can do on Thursday night at 7 p.m. That leads me into my next question, taking on Milliken, a very solid team. So what have you seen so far in film about the Big Blue?
I mean, I think they have some really good servers. I think all around their play is just pretty solid. And so it definitely comes down to how we play and how much stress we can put on their defense, on their serve receive, on basically everything, and just, feeding off the crowd and feeding off just the whole experience, I think.
Yeah, like I would compare our play to their play. It'll be a very even match. So I think both teams are just going to be super scrappy, super aggressive. So I think for us, it's just bringing that mental energy and staying in it the entire time and not letting up. So
absolutely. And if you're in the Mount Vernon area, it is a purple out, so make sure to wear your purple. It's going to be an electric day, starting at 11:30 with the first regional quarterfinal. If you want to see some postseason volleyball, stop by the SAW, and you'll be in for a treat. So head coach Jeff Meeker gets his first chance with the Rams. He's won so many ball games with the Rams, and now he gets to host a regional in Mount Vernon. This is really a dream come true for the Rams. So speak about the special nature of that for you as members of this team to be able to bring this region to Mount Vernon. Talk about what that means for you to do that for Coach Meeker.
Yeah, like Meeker has been just such an important person in all of our lives. So I think this is kind of us giving back to him in a way. You know, he's pushed us to be great this season, to not give up, to show the love and everything. So I think this is us just doing our part in return to him. And
I was literally going to say basically the same thing. I think that, I mean, we all look up to him so much, and then just to see how much work he's put in for this program, like regarding just him being the AD for like all of the athletics and then especially our volleyball team. And so, I mean, it's just really special to be able to do this and almost, I mean, not fully do it for him because we want to play for everybody and for ourselves and everybody watching, but definitely plays a part into that. We want to do this for him.
100%. And so you mentioned the roster a moment ago and the contributions of so many people on this team. So let's start with the freshman class. Nia Howard, Kenzie Stats are names that really stand out. Those two have made a tremendous impact with the Rams in their freshman seasons. So talk about Nia and Kenzie and what they've brought to this team.
Well, obviously, like, we still see them as freshmen. You know, they're just the cute little ones on the team. But whenever they're on the court and playing, like, we can always look to them to make a solid pass, make a solid serve especially. And, you know, I think that we respect them just as much as we would respect anybody on the team. But I think that's just really important that they've made that mark on this team and made that such an impact to where we can, you know, rely on them for those types of things. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely two reliable players that I think have really helped us in a lot more ways than they probably think. I mean, the whole freshman class especially, but obviously those two a little bit more physically on the court. And then, I mean, all of our practices are just so fun to be at. I mean, they're always challenging. We're always working hard. We're always pushing each other. And just having attributes like that really help.
That makes sense. So now let's move up a class to the sophomores. You think about Ella McLaughlin, Ella Becker, and Carly Puffer. Those three, as freshmen, made huge impacts with the Rams. Now as sophomores, have gotten even better. I'll say it right now. Ella Becker is the best libero in the conference. Carly Puffer led the conference in blocks. And, of course, Ella McLaughlin speaks for herself out there on the court. So talk about those three and how important they are to this team.
And I think those three have been crucial ever since last year, just having that big spot of being just thrown into varsity and having to fill some bigger roles. And I think that they've only, excelled since then. And especially this year, coming back and getting to be in the same position, little different positions for a couple of them. But, it's the same thing. All love, all respect. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I think it's really good that they now have a year under their belt just so that they know now, like how things are going to roll, especially during regionals, just so those nerves aren't so, heightened and everything. And I think that they've been such an important part of this team just to bring everybody together a little bit more. So I think that's really good for our freshmen, them being so close in age, just to have them, like, knowing that you can have that sophomore class, that they'll have your back and stuff.
Yeah, and so now moving up another class to the junior class, obviously Claire Green, first team all-conference performer. There are a few players in the country that are better at setting a volleyball than Claire Green, just fantastic now as a junior. So what has Claire done to really step up her game year after year? She made a big impact as a freshman, even more as a sophomore, and now as a junior. She's one of the leaders, per se, out there on the court now.
Yeah, I think Claire has just gotten to the point in her play where she'll fix it immediately after. If we're like, hey, can you get that a little bit higher? If Meeker especially gives her feedback, she'll change that. And Meeker always says she's the hardest worker on her team, and there's no doubt about that. She's always the one throwing herself on the ground for balls. You see that during games and everything. She's bruising her hips for us. She's, being so scrappy, just getting everywhere. So I think she has just evolved into just such an amazing player and even better teammate to have. I always know she'll have my back. She'll always give me a pat on the back no matter what. So I just love Claire. So.
Yeah, she's definitely all hard work and never complains. I mean, always hustling, everything like Ilah said. And so I think it just really sets the tone in whatever season we're in, spring season, during season, postseason, practices, open gyms. I mean, you want to be on the court with Claire, and you want her to be able to push you, yet you also want to be one of the people pushing her.
100%. And so also, we've got Kiana Manson on this team. She transferred in, lots of energy. I mean, there's very few people that can just spike the volleyball as she can. I mean, just a tremendous impact that she's made ever since coming back from the injury. So speak a little bit on what Kiana's brought to this team, really helping the team get to another level.
I mean, I think he has brought a sense of fun and a lot of energy that we weren't really used to in the past couple years. I mean, I think, like, losing Liv, she was definitely an energy ball for all of us, and always made us laugh and everything. But I think with Key, it's just, I don't know, it's very different, and it's a good different, and I think that our team really needed it to be able to exceed a bunch of expectations and everything. And yeah, it's kind of same with Claire. Like, it's fun to be on the court with Kiana, like, just feeding off of her energy and giving her energy as well.
I mean, we can always count on her to just hit the ball so hard and then celebrate really big after. So I think that just helps our momentum always in games. After she gets a big kill, we're like, okay, let's get another one. So
a few more players that I want to highlight before we say sayonara. Caitlin Babcock, Helena Hilliard, and Kendall Wiegand. These three players are really important to the team. You might not necessarily see it on the stat sheet, but these three especially really help the team's morale and also make a huge impact when they're out there on the court. So speak about Caitlin, Helena, and Kendall.
I don't think they realize how important that they've been to this team and where we are now. Like, we wouldn't be as highly ranked without them. We wouldn't be hosting without them. So I hope that they know that, and that they've shaped our team from being just good to great. And even though, like, we might not see them out on the court, like, I hope they really, really, truly know, like, their past, like, what they've done in the beginning of the season, and that just know that we can rely on them anytime if they get thrown in. Even if they're cold in some or anything, we can always count on a really good serve, a big block, a big swing, a really big dig. Yeah, they're just really important people to have on this team.
Yeah, they definitely bring a lot of energy when, like, if they get thrown in or, whatever the circumstances, they just bring that sense of energy that might be needed in that time. And yeah, I mean, they're huge players for us. And yeah, again, I hope that they know that, but
now that they've listened to the podcast, now they know.
Yeah.
So thanks for diving into the roster. And also want to give a shout out to the coaching staff. The Rams have an unparalleled coaching staff, of course.
Yep.
Head coach Jeff Meeker, Sydney Meeker, assistant coach Paul Hageman. We see you, Paul. Great job, Paul, all season long. And we look forward to seeing you on Thursday, coaching up the Rams. Also, Livia Henkel. She's done a great job transitioning into that role this year from a player last year to a student manager this year. So shout out to all of you for everything that you do for Cornell Rams volleyball. And that's going to do it for this episode. Do we have anything else that we want to get to before Thursday night's game?
Come to our game.
Purple out.
7 p.m.
All right. So let's go Rams, and thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Hilltop Sports Report. Stay tuned to the Cornell Rams social media platforms for updates on the regional, and also tune into our coverage on CornellRams.com. Our first quarterfinal, I'll be on the call at 11:30 for the first quarterfinal all the way through to the 7 p.m. Rams versus Milliken matchup. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. My name is Jumpin' Jack Carlson, saying, I'll see you next time.
Let's go Rams! Let's go Rams!